Hey guys, this is Jeff Conti again from JC Knives, and today we're going to talk about, knife sharpening again. This is going to be how to sharpen a knife. So here's where the rubber meets the road, guys. We're talking about choosing stones. We've already talked about man-made stones, natural stones, and we've talked about diamond plates. Well, I'm not going to show you how to do a water stone because it's just a lot of trouble, and frankly I don't have that much time today, and I like to keep the videos kind of short. So and if you really want to get into water stones, you know, put something up in the comments and maybe I'll make a video just about water stones. But otherwise I'm going to talk about how to build a slurry. We're going to talk about, and you don't do it on a diamond plate, by the way, only on stones. We're going to talk about the angle of the knife on the edge as it's applied to the stone, and how you change it as you get towards the tip. Also, we're going to talk about pressure. We're going to talk about using the whole stone, how many swipes to take per side of the knife. Whoops, I better move that up. And then the most important part, and you can see I've got a little line here, and what's below that is the most important parts to me, is what is the number one goal, what is the number two goal, and then we're going to talk about stropping. So here we go. I'll be right back. I'm just going to get my strop because I forgot to bring it over. Here you go. This is a regular piece of leather that's just been glued onto a piece of wood, and then this is green chrome rouge. You can get it, you know, from a lot of different places, and you just rub it back and forth on the leather, and it will lay down some of the rouge onto the leather, and that's what we'll use for stropping. So here we go. This is the coarse side, so this is what I'm going to use, and you're going to see, open this up, we're going to apply quite a bit of oil, and you'll see it soaking into the oil stone, by the way. And I like to use the whole stone, so I oil the whole stone. Now we're not going to worry a lot about getting standing oil, because what we're going to try to do is build a slurry, which means that the oil stone, I might as well pour a little bit on there, the oil on the stone will collect the grit from the stone as I move the knife over it, and then it will put the grit into a slurry, which will hasten the speed with which our knife gets sharp, or how much material it removes from the knife. So there we go. And I'm going to use my very own Benchmade Colgera, designed by Osborne. So you start at the very back, you lay the blade flat, this is a flat grind, lay the blade flat and pop it up the angle that you want it to be. And then notice how as I get to the end of my stroke, I'm bringing the knife up. And I'm going to add some more oil. I do want to get a little bit of collected oil on there. This stone hasn't been used in some time. I use mostly diamond because it's so much faster. So my oil stones dry out, or at least the man-made ones do. So pop it up. Notice that I'm lifting it up at the end of the stroke, and I'm not cutting as I go back. I'm just dragging the knife back. Also notice that my stone is fixed nice and tight to the bench. I'm still bringing my knife blade up. Add some more oil. I should keep these oiled. I have an aluminum can that I keep some of my oil stones in, but I didn't bring it over here. They would already be soaked full of oil. So this steel is a stainless steel, which means it's going to be pretty brutal on me for sharpening. Notice that I got my hands on the blade and I'm applying quite a bit of pressure You can even hear it as it's grinding across the stone. The nice thing about making my own oil is that it's cheap. It's really cheap. Okay, let's see. I'm going to check and see if there's anything I'm missing on my notes here. I talked in a previous video about what angle to use. Again, it's going to depend upon the geometry of the knife blade as it was ground and the type of steel. You'll probably notice that I'm using, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 swipes before I switch to the other side. And I have some paper towels. I use paper towels a lot, by the way, on this progress. So you can see, hopefully, that this is a really wide grind. Because my blade, it's worn back enough that it's getting thick. And so the fineness of my blade is a little too heavy now for a standard, 1/16 of an inch sharpening secondary bevel. So now I've had to move it back a little ways. Also, I'd like to hope you could see with any degree of clarity how coarse that surface is. So, do I have a burr? So I don't have a burr right in there, but I do have a burr most of the way. And you can see this stone is sucked up a lot of my oil. I might have to make some more oil and start this video over. So I'm only going to use this one stone. And then I'm going to go to the diamond. So I pop it up, hold it. Notice you can hear the grinding sound because I'm really putting quite a bit of pressure on the knife itself. And you can see how I bring in the handle up. See, I'm starting down flat, and then I bring it up when I get to the end of the tip. Add a little bit more oil. It's starting to get to where it's holding in now pretty good. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's starting to develop a slurry, which means it's really starting to cut quite a bit better than when I first started. So I start down flat, pop it up to the angle I want, and I go all the way across. Now the next time I use this stone, by the way, I'll turn this stone 180 degrees, so I'm actually using the other side. That just helps make the stone last longer. Okay. Smooth on this side. Oh yeah. Got a nice wire edge all the way across. Okay, very good. Now I'm not going to really clean this stone off. That slurry that's on there will pick up next time, and it will make it a little bit faster. But if I add some oil on and spread it around, then it won't be just slurried all in one spot. And I could wipe off a little bit. All right, take this off. I don't need to use the Washita stone. It's the same process with the oil. Although the nice thing about natural stones, they don't soak up the oil like the man-made stones do. So you don't use nearly as much oil. Then comes the diamond hone. Now, as you can see, let's see if I got it right. Okay, so you can't really see it that good. But anyway, so here's the coarse stone, which I've already done now. So now I'm going to move on. I have a, there we go. That was my bench stop. You probably couldn't see it, but it doesn't matter. So here's the medium stone. So now I want to get all of this grit off of there before I go to my diamond. And I want to put some simple green on there. And I'll put it on the fine stone, lay it down. You can hear it cuts way. You know what though? Doggone it, it's not. The hilt on my knife here is actually running up against my board, so let's see here. Yeah, I can see that. So pop it up. Oh yeah, there we go. Yep. So all I'm trying to do now is take out the grind lines, the grinding marks from that previous hone. I've already got my wire edge, so I'm no longer sharpening. All I'm trying to do is make it a little smoother, get it a nice surface. With a little more simple green. I like the smell of simple green. Plenty of pressure still. Oh yeah. I can see the reflection from the light. It is putting a nice surface finish on that edge. The secondary bevel, I mean. Okay. Yeah, okay, see if I can show you here. Looks, there you go, yep. Looking good. Okay, move on to my last plate. And you can't hear it much, but I can certainly hear it, the actual grinding of that diamond plate on the knife edge. And how long has this taken me? Maybe 3 or 4 minutes so far? Not including, of course, me stopping and talking to you guys. Oh yeah, that's getting a nice surface on it. I can see it in the glint of the shop light. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, look at that. There we go. Looking good. Okay, can I feel the burr? Yep, just barely. I'm going to do a couple more swipes just for kicks and giggles. Still using pressure, still raising the knife handle all the way across. And now, for stropping. Okay, you want to get all the moisture off. You don't want any moisture in your strop. What you're going to do is you're going to go backwards. So when you were using the stone and sharpening, you were cutting into the knife edge, and now you're going away from the knife edge. And the goal is to bend that little wire edge back and forth, and I can see it on the leather. Turn this around a little bit. Bend that wire edge back and forth until it breaks off. And then once it breaks off, you give it a few more swipes, and you should have a relatively polished edge. And it should be nice and sharp. Let me check it with my fingers. Oh yeah. So, I like to do the hair test. Yep, look at there. Yep, I think that's sharp enough for me. What do you guys think? Okay, so I told you choosing a stone versus a plate. I told you building your slurry. I talked about the angle of the knife, and remember, you want to choose that based on the type of steel you've got and the grind. I talked about applying pressure to the knife across the whole swipe and using the whole stone or the plate. I talked about between 5 and 10 swipes per side. Just do an equal number, that's all. The number one goal is to get a wire edge or a burr all the way along the edge. The number two goal is to smooth out the grind with your finer stones. You're not trying to do any more sharpening now, you're just trying to get the secondary bevel smoother and finer. And then what the strop is made out of and how to use a strop. So there you go. That's how I sharpen a knife. I hope it was useful to you. Good luck. Happy sharpening.